him, we have Mr. Rajendra S. Pawar. Mr. Pawar, an industry visionary, is the chairman and co-founder of NIIT Limited and founder of NIIT University. For his outstanding contribution to the IT industry in India, he has been awarded the country's prestigious civilian honor, the Padma Bhushan. He has led several industry initiatives as the chairman of NASSCOM and has been conferred prestigious awards like the Distinguished Alumnus Award at IIT, the IT Man of the Year, and Master Entrepreneur of the Year, to name a few. May I invite you, sir, to begin the session by giving us a brief intro to NIT University.
First of all, a very hearty welcome from my side as well. And I'm delighted to be with all of you and probably had a conversation with some of you in the past. And this is a very important conversation between all of us at NU who've chosen students of a caliber who we think is appropriate for the integrated MBA program. That is, people with high potential, but also with strong passion. So it's a conversation between us and all of you who have chosen the NIT University as the place where you intend to spend perhaps the most exciting 4 years of your life. So I'll briefly touch upon the vision and the mission of the university. Now, as you would have read in the logo of the university, we call ourselves the University of the Future. We have done that from day one. And we aspire to be a role model among universities in terms of a few areas, in a few distinct areas. So we want to be a role model and a leader in learning. We want to be a role model in research. We want to be a role model in innovation. And of course, we want to be a role model in sustainability. And in fact, these attributes, which we have always considered very important, are going to be put to test and to display in this COVID period, because many of the challenges that society faces, we think that our focus on a few distinct areas will display the need to build those capabilities and the need to respond very positively to the current situation and challenges like this. So that's the vision. Now the mission. Our mission is to create exceptional talent by transforming high potential high school students like you all, and transform you into leaders in whatever field that you may choose. Gone are the days when we could decide the field we want to be and stay there forever. So the way things are changing, the way options are there in front of young people, the way society is changing, and this COVID is going to change many things, we don't want to limit the space in which you want to operate. We don't want you to be limited by the area you want to pursue. So whatever fields your passion takes you to, we'd like you to become a leader in the fields that you choose. And in the field of management, in the field of startups, by doing 4 distinct things. There are 4 distinct strengths of the university, distinctive qualities of the university we want to bring about, which will help you to achieve your goals. So one is through the innovative use of technology. And for NIIT, which is a 40-year-old company in 40 countries, having trained maybe tens of millions of students, technology is something we have lived with throughout. So we are putting that to use in its fullest extent. In fact, during COVID, it will be visible even more. So we want that as one distinctive quality to help you achieve your goals. Second is our very tight linkages with industry. On our board, we have people such as my role model, Mr. Arjun Malhotra, who will speak to you. Brilliant people from the industry like that, thought leaders and so on. So the linkage with the industry, I do want to tell you that even though we have 250 odd students who graduate every year, we have more than 500 companies with whom we have linkages for internships as well as placement. So that will be a great strength we will use. The third area of distinctiveness is research. And we have from day one decided that even in the first year of your studies, you will be exposed to research and the research method, and you will be writing a research paper. And in fact, all the startups that have come out of NIT University, they were initiated or triggered in a sense by the ideas which they picked up for their early work on research and research methodology. And eventually, the fourth dimension of our distinctiveness, which we also call the four core principles, is sustainability. Whether it's in how we deal with nature, how we deal with the village community next door, how we deal with the Japanese industry in our neighborhood, how do we deal with between subjects. So we see the idea of seamlessness in everything we do, and that leads to sustainability, a very distinct characteristic of the university. And just like we want you to become a leader who can seamlessly move around along different functions and areas and so on. So this characteristic or core principle of sustainability and seamlessness is the fourth dimension we will bring to bear to make sure that youngsters like you can pursue the areas that you want to pursue with your passion and become leaders in those areas. So that is our mission. So having spoken about our vision and mission, I'd like to hand you back to Monisha. Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you, sir. It is always very inspiring to hear you speak. Could I request you to invite Mr. Malhotra up and begin your conversation with him?
Okay. So Arjun Malhotra, who is our guest today, also happens to be the member of the NIT University board. As I started by saying, he's been a role model for me. I watched him and worked with him in my early years of life and very carefully studied his approach to leading people, to managing people, to his brilliant ideas on marketing and innovation, and of course, his ability to build out businesses, not just in India, but in the US, Europe, Japan, Singapore, many parts of the world. He is also a distinguished alumnus of IIT Kharagpur, very highly recognized, and has been giving a lot of time to educational institutes. And so we are delighted to have brought him on board a few years ago. And he's already playing a very significant role. So when we were going to be talking to our students of the very innovative integrated MBA program, I could think of no better person to bring as a guest than Arjun Malhotra. So I'll start by asking him a couple of questions, and then of course we'll leave it to the string of questions that Monisha has got from you, and she will continue to pose these questions. So Arjun, the first thing, which is perhaps most relevant today, is the extent of uncertainty and therefore the extent of change that will happen and is happening because of this COVID situation. And quite clearly, it's putting a challenge to everybody. So in your view, what impact will that have on education and management? And what impact should it have on how we at NU should be building these young, brilliant management graduates into what they aspire to be?
So thank you, Raji. Thank you first for a very kind introduction. I think what COVID has done, actually, my whole life, 50 years in the IT industry, has been one of change. You're always in some kind of change. Some of them are large changes, some of them are not so large changes. I mean, you look at what the internet has done, for example, and that is what a lot of young people will see. And the change it has made in the way we live our life, the way we look at industries, the way industries have adapted themselves to manage the availability of bandwidth. I think ultimately in your life, you've got to look at, my view again is that you have to look at bandwidth being infinite, pervasive, and free over a period of time. And that's where the world's going to go. Now, technically, I would have thought that the next big change would have come with biomed, biotechnology, and then the one change after that would have come with nano. But I think what COVID-19 has done is that given us an intermediate step where a lot of changes are going to happen, because what has changed is the way we are going to look at things, the way we're going to look at people, the way we're going to do things. Everyone's talking of the new normal, and that's a word that I think everyone would have heard. A new normal is going to cover a lot of things. Already, companies like TCS are saying that they want to continue 75% of their staff work from home. Google and Facebook have said till December their engineers can work from home. You know, it's think of what that's going to do to the real estate market over time. Just think of what it's going to do to bandwidth, to how you're going to manage people, to HR policies, just how that change is going to happen. So I think everything is going to get changed. How we go to parties, how we interact with people socially, everything is going to change, and it's going to take a long time to come back. Another example I can talk about is if you're living in Delhi, and I'm in Delhi right now, the fresh air you're breathing is quite amazing. I can't remember when I had fresh air like this, at least not in the last 20 plus years. People are going to want to keep it, and then they're going to have to find ways to make sure that the air doesn't go back, the air quality doesn't go back to where it was. So I think it's very important for younger people today who understand technology. They know what social media marketing is much better than I do. They are much more familiar with it, if I use that term. I think they are going to have to look at how to make these changes that are going to be sustainable. It's their life that they're going to have to worry about. People like me, I mean, we've got another 10, 20 years, but they are going to have to worry about how their children are going to grow up and live in this environment. What are the changes that are going to happen? What is going to make them successful? And I think it's really important that, again, when you look at innovation, people have come to the conclusion that you need to think out of the box. I mean, that's a simple motherhood statement. But how do you get people to think out of the box? What you've got to do is get people from art, culture, science, humanities together, engineering, medicine, and have them address a problem. Each will come up with a slightly different, probably innovative approach, and the final answer is going to be something that will actually change the way things are done, if they're able to get a final answer. So I really think having a program where you're getting young, smart people in from multiple disciplines, putting them in, giving them some basics, and then letting them think about what they want to do, let them experiment, do some research, open up their mind to not just following the rules, but doing things that are different, that will make a difference. I think that's going to be very important. And I'm really thrilled that the integrated MBA program is actually trying to address that. I think for most people, I unfortunately, well, I don't know if unfortunately or not, I'm just an engineer. I didn't do an MBA. I had to learn the hard way through a management training program in DCM when I started my career. But I think if people are given the basics of management, they would have, at least if I had been given that, I would have probably saved a few years in my career to move to the next spot. It just took me 5 years to learn what I thought I needed to know before we started a company like HCL. But I would have done it probably a year or two earlier, maybe 3 years earlier, if I had an MBA or I had the training that an MBA would give me in terms of what we are thinking.
So, Arjun, as you know that the normal MBA takes either 3 years of bachelor's and 2 years, which is 5 years, or 4 years of engineering and 2 years, which is 6 years. At our university, after deliberations which went for many years, we created the integrated MBA of 4 years after high school. And you had our reasons to construct this so that the first 2 years are a little more formal, and then you have many options. Would you have any comments of the 4-year straight program versus the normal 5-year MBA? What do you see as the pluses?
Yeah, so there are two things. You either do a 3-year BA, BSc, or whatever, and then you do a 4-year engineering. First thing is when you get into why do you have a 2-year management program is because you have to unlearn a lot of things that you've learned and then look at what managing people, managing businesses, managing finance, what all that is about. So a lot of them, people come in from different backgrounds, so they end up teaching humanities students statistics, which engineering students already know. So there's a fair amount of overlap that goes on today. which is the way traditionally education has been done. You and I both know that a large part of what you do in management is common sense and and you have the comfort and the confidence to apply that common sense to problems. And really what we need to do is give people some basics. You have to know the basics. I mean, you've got to know Newton's law. You've got to know some of those things that are important, just the basic fundamentals. And then you've got to be able to innovate within the situation where you are, right? Different people have different strengths. Some people will be analytical. Some people will be more strategic. Some people will be more tactical, if I use that term. And so I think what you're doing is giving people, when they are about 20 years old, which is 2 years into the program, the ability to be able to switch to what they think they want to do. You know, I wish people had that option when they were in education. Today, most people take a job and realize that's not what I want to do, and either stick in there and be unhappy about it, and you know, that impacts them, their family, and everyone else, or they switch jobs frequently looking for something that they want to do. If we could only do that in college, where we have a lot more freedom, which is what I see your program, or the program that we have for the 4-year integrated MBA allowing people to do, I think you'll have a lot more people who will be much clearer on what they want to do, and therefore will be much more effective in what they do when they finish the program.
Okay. Just one last question. Now, we very deliberately chose it to be a program where a third of the curriculum and the courses are chosen by students. And by the way, the university also has one distinction, that if you do extracurricular, maybe plays, maybe art, maybe photography, you can also earn credits, because we think that's also part of your makeup. And all this we try and do in 4 years, so that you can get on with life. So Arjun, just a question, is 4 years enough in your view, the assumption we are making, so people get on with their work?
No, absolutely. I think most of the world thinks, well, most of the Commonwealth world thinks that 3 years is enough for you to get basic education and do what you want to do. So really, people do 4 years in engineering only because I came from the IIT, and we had a 5-year program. And the first 2 years was basically, they were telling us they didn't teach you anything in school. So forget what you learned in high school, just learn the whole thing again, and then get into your, so you only move to your department part-time in the 3rd year in my case, and then a little more, nearly full-time in your 4th and final year. Basically, that's how it works, right? I don't think you need to do those. If, you know, I think we do need to do some catch-up from school, because not all schools are the same. But I think once you've got the basics, and 2 years is more than enough for the basics, then you've got to let people have the clarity or the freedom to do what they want to do, and try and, how should I put it, catch up with themselves, catch up with whatever ideas they have, reject the ones that they feel are not good, and, you know, then go on. And, you know, I really love the idea that we do at NU, where we give extracurriculars their some credit. I remember when I was at IIT, I had a merit scholarship, and I used to play a lot of games. And, you know, when you played soccer, in Bengal especially, everyone, including the professors, would come out to the field. So when they take attendance, they had a red tick against all the merit scholarship holders, I guess because they wanted to give them 5% more marks or something. But every time he took attendance and he'd take, he ought to look up, look at me, and look confused as to, hey, this guy plays soccer, how can he be a merit scholar? You know, that was this is 50 years ago, 55 years ago. Things have changed today. I think we are much more, how should I put it? We much more appreciate people who have a broader outlook, who do multiple things, you know, and just not just focused in one particular area. And I think that's what the world is looking for, is people who have a much broader vision and a much broader view of life than just being bionic programmers, for example.
Okay, so I think that brings our little conversation to a close. And Monisha, you may now want to take people's questions which are directed both at our faculty and also at our alumni.
Absolutely. But let me begin with you, sir. One of the questions that we've gotten from students and parents, so I'm just flavor, but it's come to you as the founder of the university, and there's this whole conversation about how COVID changing the way and look at education, not only in terms of education delivery, but also in terms of the overall impact and remaining relevant. So, as founder of the institution, how do you see this program of integrated MBA evolving and contributing back?
Well, I think Arjun has answered that in many different ways. I'll only add that I'm actually looking at this whole COVID thing as a great opportunity because it's throwing up so many challenges that people who are versatile, people who can take on things head on, they will be able to show their capability. So the youngsters coming into education right now are coming into a safe place. Of course, we have a super safe university, but college is safe, but they have the opportunity to study all the discontinuity and strange things which are happening. And therefore, it's a program which gives an open curriculum to navigate and move, and 1/3 of the courses you can choose. I personally feel that that setting is very right. And then, of course, we use technology extensively. So their ability to explore, navigate, those who want to do startups, to think of what they want to do, I think this is a perfect setting in my view. And this is a perfect challenge which has come. And a program like Integrated MBA, which is a very open architecture program where passion of people and the real love of subjects should play out. So I feel very excited. This is a great time to be doing such a program.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
Raji, if I can just add to that, I just thought of the fact that Indian School of Business runs a 1-year MBA program. It doesn't do a 2-year MBA program, right? And they're very successful. Their MBA degree is considered really good. So I would really say that, hey, while everyone, because it's not the norm, everyone's sort of thinking about it, maybe even worried about it. But they should look at innovative programs like the ISB 1-year program and know that, look, some of these things are going to change. They're going to change for the better. They're going to change for what's required by industry and what's going to give people a better chance as a career for success in the future. So I think I just wanted to leave that one thought as an answer to that question. Thank you.
Back
Great.
to you, Manisha.
Thank you, sir. My next question is to you, Mr. Malhotra. You're an industry leader, so we'd love to hear what, according to you, is going to be like the future of business, future of work or employment going forward. What will be the relevance of a management degree going forward, especially an integrated one from an industry's perspective, if you could just kind of help us understand.
So, I look at every company that I've managed. You try and move people into multiple roles to see who can take on those responsibilities so that they can then get to a CX, senior management role over a period of time, right? So you take an engineer, or you take a humanities graduate, you put them head of delivery, you make them head of HR, you have them run IT, you put them through multiple roles, you put them in charge of projects just to see how they would perform. Right. You also get them to manage people or have people report to them, see how good people managers they are. Right. I think the people who've had a broader vision, and in the old days, we used to look specifically for people from public schools with army background so that they had that exposure. And here I'm talking 50 years ago, that's what you look for. Today, you get a lot of kids with a lot more exposure because of really the internet and what all is available. So when I look for people that I want to take to the next level quickly, and if we are a growing organization, I look for people who have a broad outlook, not someone who's just an engineer or just a very good mechanical engineer or a very good computer science person. The person needs to have a broad outlook, right? Those are the people that tend to catch your eye, that tend to do well in organizations, and they are the ones that tend to grow. So now when I look at what is happening in the world, I look at the new normal that people are talking about. No one seems to know what it is, but it is going to be a new normal. And so we are going to need people who think differently. Most of the traditional thinkers will have to change. Even the standard programmers have to change. They can't just be programmers anymore. You can't just be a Unix and C or a C# or a C++ expert. You have to understand the application you're writing so that you can add value to it. So everything is going to change. And I think people who have a broader outlook are going to be the ones who are going to lead that change. And so that's why I'm really excited about the timing of the program. I was excited about the program. I'm really excited about the timing because I think it is, COVID, not that I wanted COVID, but it's given this program a real boost in a way in terms of what the people who go through it can expect when they finish. So I think that's the really, I mean, you can never plan these things, but I think it's really going to work out in a positive way for a lot of folks.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pawar. Thank you, Mr. Malhotra. I'd like to just quickly inform the audience that just so that all of you could get a complete 360-degree view of what NIT University represents, we also have with us 2 professors of management and a few of our current students from the integrated MBA course here in the session today. I've been receiving many questions from you, which we took in advance, and I bunched those together based on the subject lines, and those will get directed to our speakers as we go along. Our speakers, however, will be more than happy to take on additional questions, if at all, during the session. You're requested to type these questions in the chat box window on the right side of your screen so that we can address them as we proceed. So let me begin my conversation now with Professor Shivendra Mathur and Professor Sushil Kalyani, both professors of management at NU. Like I said, we also have students who are currently pursuing the integrated MBA program at NU with us here in the audience, and they'll be more than happy to take in questions that will be coming in. So, Shivendra, let me start with you. Many questions have come to me from students who are very curious to know what can they really expect from an integrated program? So is it going to be more compacted? Is it going to be more heavy? How will it be spaced out in terms of classes, in terms of timings? And of course, what are going to be the key components of the course? I think I've just bunched everything together and I've asked you that.
Thank you, Monisha. It's a good question. Good evening, everyone. The program that we were just discussing has been designed after very high caliber of thought leaders. We spoke to many industry partners, and then that's how we came up with this program. Now, coming sequentially to the questions asked, how difficult it is, how rigorous it is, I must tell you it is rigorous, but it is not difficult. We have very carefully come up with these specializations, and I'll give you a genesis of how these specializations and things work. This program, specifically people from all walks of life, commerce, humanities, sciences, mathematics, they join this program. We create a level playing field, and then over the years, we build up so that you become a complete professional in a chosen specialization or a chosen field. Having said that, it also means that sequentially and periodically, regularly, we build up the overall structure. So here what we do, the rigor of the program is there, but it comprises of every walk of life. So you have a portion of liberal arts, public policy, you have a portion of history, you have a portion of mathematics, you have a portion of core management courses, and you have high-end, high-tech specialized programs or courses in which you want to opt for. So coming to the, again, the question of how do we proceed, which specialization and things. See, we are offering specializations, and my colleague will also speak about it, in the areas which are going to stay for long. You must be seeing these days that all the analytics which is coming out on COVID patients and the cases and the mathematical models, extrapolations which are coming out. These are based on complex mathematical machine learning algorithms. which develops its own solutions and predicts. So here we are talking about a new world order where machines, artificial intelligence, and complex algorithms, all these technologies will be the ruling the world, along with a very robust financial model, which we call fintech. I hope you are aware of all these buzzwords these days, like bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, etc. So these are the ones which are going to replace. And not even for once I'm saying that it is easy, but I am reiterating the fact that it is worth it. So one has to go with the flow, and one has to be just be normal, usual, as you would have spent otherwise. And these 4 years will just pass very smoothly. We have not truncated any course. In fact, these 4 years, we have compressed 5 years into 4 years, and that's how we have worked out the architecture. So each course has a place which is carefully designed and put in a particular order. So all you have to do is to just be with us on the flow, and rest assured, you will graduate and will get a very good career ahead. My colleague Sushil, if you want to add.
No, I think you have spoken well about our own philosophy of how we came up with the program. And yeah, I heard Mr. Arjun and Mr. Rajendra Pawar speaking that whatever industry requires is the most important thing. And I think that's our focus area, that we try to inculcate everything which is happening and we see happening in future, near future, or the future ahead. We try to include everything so that all the students who are undergoing this program will be definitely adoptable by the industry from first day, first hour. And this is what our intention is. So uh, yeah, I think the rest of the things you have already spoken of.
Right.
Great. So I have two students who've asked me right now on the chat about the fact, do we have any collaborations with other institutions or other universities or any industry body? Is there a semester exchange program? Shivendra, I think that comes to you.
Yeah. So, Monisha and my dear students, see the collaborations when it comes to university has a lot of collaborations. Industry collaborations, Mr. Pawar has just spoken that we have more than 500, 600 industry partners with us. That is one form of collaboration. We have been running industry sponsored programs from 2010. And as on date, as we are talking, more than 1100 students have graduated from the management program and have been deployed by these industries gainfully. So when it comes to industry partnerships, our philosophy is a little different. What we do, right at the design stage of the program, we collaborate with the industry, which means what is required by the students in the next 4 years, 10 years down the line, we decide right at when the steel is cut for the ship, which means that the program is absolutely designed in consultation with the industry. So when we designed fintech program, it was not that only academicians like us, we sat together in design. We spoke to many industry partners like Paytm, etc., as to what is required. And you'll be amazed to know that we produce a course like payments and lending, which is nowhere to be heard of. So because this is what is required by the industry. Now coming with how many international partnerships, etc., with universities. Well, we have for engineering students, so for the university engineering students, we have very high level of partnerships with international universities. So far for management students, there was no such demand because we didn't feel it, that because every student was sponsored by the industry and so far it was happening. But if there's a requirement, there's no way that it will be stopped. We are approached by many international universities from China to Europe and United States. And we can, forge a relation at any point of time. That's not a constraint at all.
Great. Thank you so much. Sushil, there's a question that specifically comes for you after what you said, and that's around electives. How can I choose my electives? What would those be? And can I change them if I want to midway?
So, we have been talking about the readiness of our students for the, industry, and that was the thing which was kind of on our mind while we were finalizing our specializations. So to answer your question, what specializations we offer, we have very carefully chosen marketing and marketing analytics as one. Finance, banking, and fintech, as my colleague was speaking about, is another thing which we see as the future of finance. And then business analytics, digital and social media marketing are few electives which we are offering, and we see the students will definitely have to go for those kind of things which are required by the corporate world. So based on our discussion within and with the industry experts, we could understand that this is the way we should come up with this specialization. And the electives also will be in every area which is going to cover the specialization per se. So if it is like if somebody is willing to know what specializations we are going to offer, it is going to be dependent on what specialization a student has chosen. And it can range from, like, for example, if it is fintech, then it is going to be basics of banking and financial sector, then how the banks work. And as my colleague already said, that when it comes to fintech, it is going to be dealing with few analytical analytics courses, for example, data visualization or payments and lending and so on. So there is a list of electives we will offer under every specialization. To answer your second question, how would a student be choosing the specialization? Would be driven by two things. One is obviously when the people come and in the beginning of the program, they ask us that, sir, will it be good for me to go for this specialization? We always tell a student that I think you should go through at least first two terms to first understand what are the foundations, what are the basic courses, and what is the basics of management, so that at least you are in a position to decide better. And then we are already there. We will be obviously delivering many courses with the help of our faculty members who are working with us, and the people coming from the industry who are the experts of different domains. So they'll also be having an idea about what you are doing and how you are doing and how good you will be for a specialization. So then obviously we will also play a role of the kind of advisors or counselors to tell you that a certain specialization can be better for you. Yeah, but we will definitely encourage students to choose on their own. And as I said, at least after 2-3 terms are passed by, they are always in a better position to understand. Like our previous batches, our senior batch already has been given the choices. So now we feel that they are more confident in choosing this specialization. And like Mr. Malhotra said, it is all about their own understanding of what they are going to do and what they want to do in their life as a career. It's not about a first job. It is going to be the question of the career. So it is better to give them time to understand and the understandability to decide on their own, and we are always there to help them.
Just one thing I want to add, Monisha, to what my colleague just mentioned. See, specializations, in our case, 6 specializations that we are offering. A student can choose their courses 31% customization that they can do, which means that a student can choose from one bucket for 2 courses and so on and so forth. So it is up to the student how and which way he or she wants to make a career. If a student wants to choose entrepreneurship and still want to take certain courses in finance or analytics, that freedom is there. So we are not straitjacketing that one specialization means that you have to do all these courses. Not at all. You can opt out courses as per your requirement and tailor-made your program. So that is a one unique thing that we are offering. So, and that gives a lot of freedom to the student to make his or her own career. I mean, that's an individual's choice and decision. But as rightly pointed out, we give all courses flavor in the first 2 semesters. And then once you know as a student that which is your natural flair, where your expertise lies, then you decide carefully along with consultation with us, of course, that which path will be best suited for you.
Great. That's well put out. Thank you so much, Sushil. Thank you so much, Shivendra. I have 2 questions that have come into me specifically with the flavor of graduation outcomes, considering that the first batch hasn't yet graduated. What are we ensuring that we are doing internally at NU, that we are able to meet the demands of the industry? What we are teaching is relevant to the emerging areas? And how are we actually preparing our students? What are the various graduation outcomes that they can go into? It'll be nice if we could also have maybe some of our existing students contributing to this answer, if you think it's suitable.
Yeah, so I'll first let the students answer, then I will add on to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think we have 4
Hello.
students here today: Aditya, Moni, and Aishi, and Aditi. Okay, great. We have Aditya on screen. Great, Aditya.
Okay,
Hi.
so my name is Aditya and I am currently in my 4th semester, that is the 2nd year of integrated MBA. And pertaining to the question, how are we getting ensured regarding the future path? So I would like to say that as far as my journey concerns, right from the 1st semester to the 4th, we have been taught everything. Like, say, for example, HR, marketing, analytics, finance, operations, and entrepreneurship. So we are getting an all-round knowledge from each and every field, because when we came over here, we were quite clueless as to what to take as our specializations ahead in our 5th or 6th semester. So as of now, where I stand right now, I have a pretty deep knowledge as to which course am I completely heading towards. So right now, of course, we do not have any say graduating batch, or I do not have any senior batch to consult with. But then this very unique mentorship program which we have at NIIT University, where you have a one-on-one mentor allotted to you. So this helps a lot, because say for example, if you're not sure regarding what is to be done regarding the course or something, so you can always approach that very mentor, and that mentor is of course your faculties, and they stay inside the campus, so there is no restrictions like, yes, after 6 p.m. you cannot consult with that person. On the upper hand, I would also like to add that Mr. Rajendra Pawar sir, he also has a very deep connection with us. So every week or twice in every week, we have our talks with him. So we know that, yes, if we are doing this, we know what are we going to face in our life ahead outside the university. So that is a very good thing, which I like, that yes, apart from just the knowledge of the subjects or the courses, we have our universities, faculty mentors, and the board directors who are with us in this journey to, just to give a very headstrong knowledge about this. Ma'am, I cannot hear you. Probably mute right now.
Monisha,
So
I think
sorry. Thanks, Aditya. Moni, please say a quick few words, and if any of our panelists also or speakers would like to add to it.
So I'm in 2nd year IMBA as well. Some things that the way the IMBA program is made and the faculty that we have connected with, you find a sense of confidence in the program and in the faculty. And that in return helps you, it doesn't really give you any sort of doubts or question of what will happen. End of the day, it is a risk, obviously, because we are the first founding batch. But then how much I have grown and how much I've seen myself and my classmates in the last 2 years itself, you can see how well the program has been helping us, both personally and as a career-wise. And when you see these changes, both in yourself and people around you, you tend to have a lot of confidence. And with that, we've, as Aditya has mentioned, Mr. Pawar sir has been working side with us, and that in return helps boost this strength within us. Like right now, I've also gained a lot of clarity on what I would like to do next. So there's no, yes, there always will be initial fears because you're just stepping out of your house and you're going to a new world and there's a lot of changes, but they really help you with the transition. And so you see a very, very bright future with this program and this university.
Great. Thank you.
Monisha can add something.
Definitely, sir.
So The integrated MBA batch, we have 2 batches, and we've heard 2 of our young bright students second year. But I recall that the very first batch which came out of the college, university, in 2011 was a master's batch. First undergrad batch was 2013. And for the first few years, first few batches, it becomes very important for all of us at the university to make sure they're moving in the right direction. So that's the personal attention that I think all my colleagues give. But more important than that, I think the linkage with the industry is what really shapes and builds the clarity for our students. So this last semester happens in a company. And that actually, if students have worked up to that choice carefully, which they're doing in all our other programs, normally that is the company where everybody gets placed. So I just want to mention that just today morning, I got a message from Geetika, who runs our placement, that all the 32 students who were doing their 6-month internship at IBM, about half of them in data analytics and half of the others, all 100% of them have got a pre-placement opening. Now, mind you, these are students who also chose the electives in the 6th semester. Similarly, there are those who have chosen their electives in cybersecurity. They have gone to the Ernst & Young and KPMG and the others. So as they come closer, now the second year student next year, they will be expected to do a short internship in the summer as well. And in fact, the discussion we were having with them is that maybe the forthcoming batch, you may have a short internship right after in every one of the summers you have. So that you're getting closer and closer and greater and greater clarity. And by the time you come into a 6-month internship, you're quite clear of where you're going. And you get a chance for 6 months to prove to the potential employers you're doing the internship with that you're good. It's not a one-off interview. And so therefore, the comfort of getting into placement comes not because we wish it or we work very hard. It's by the structure of the program with this repeated exposure and ultimately 6 months of in-depth involvement in the company of your choice as your last internship. And a vast majority of students then finally end up proving themselves and getting a job in that company. So I just wanted to make that point that it's a structural design issue, in addition, of course, to paying a lot of attention to each student's personal aspiration.
Thank you, sir. I have a question from a parent, and I think maybe this is also a sentiment that quite a few parents today are reflecting, and they're requesting perhaps one of our senior speakers to take that question, either you, Mr. Malhotra, both of you. So looking at the economic scenario right now, we're maybe expecting the business models to go through a little bit of change. So how will the industry move post-COVID? Are you expecting any changes?
So let me comment and then I'll ask Arjun, who's a few years more experienced than I am. So first and foremost, I think, and this we used to say even as youngsters, that when there's chaos in the world, you should go and do your studies because you're in a protected environment and you get time to watch. So while the rest of the world may worry about COVID, in fact, while the day scholars in colleges will be worried about getting into a bus, getting out, where can I get this problem? In a secure campus like ours, which is, one entry with no outside coming when college starts this year for 6 months. So students can focus on what they have to learn without worries which are negative in the current situation. And also observe what's happening. So in the next 4 years, people who are coming in now, they will have a tremendous opportunity to observe these changes, study them, prepare themselves for it. So unlike the batch which is going out now and there, I'm happy that, as I said, the first of the batches of all 32 being placed where they were, whereas people are worried on whether they'll join or not. Incoming batches or even our youngsters who are in first and second year, they have the opportunity actually to study how will the world change in COVID, and they'll be part of curriculum. So they'll be equipped much better. And the whole idea really is that college should equip us. It's a laboratory. And if the university is linked to industry, then the laboratory comes into the university. For startups also, it's a laboratory. You can do a startup, you join the entrepreneurship club in year one. And you do a research. We had one youngster who he liked flying objects. His first paper was on that. And eventually he's built one of the most successful drone companies where he manufactures in different parts of the world and sells everywhere. So the university is a laboratory for young minds. And people, even our current MBAs who are in first and second year, they still have 2 years to study the effect of this fallout before they can actually go and look for their placement. And those who will be coming in this year still are 4 years away, when hopefully things will be much clearer and there would have been many lessons learned. And they'll get a chance to adjust and adapt, and the curriculum will change. So Arjun, if you want to add something to this.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention that, people want to know which industry, or how COVID going to change the industrial face and what's the new normal. It's very difficult to predict. I wish if I knew it, then I'd write a book and probably make my money from there. But bottom line is, I think remote working is going to become big. And so IT services that go remote, lots of companies that were reluctant to do it earlier or were reluctant to send some stuff earlier will now send it out. So more and more, the IT services companies will grow. I mean, they might have a little hiccup for a short while. The pharma companies are going to grow because more and more people will come to India to get pharmaceuticals. We are already pretty large. The vaccination business is going to grow. Serum Institute in Pune is the world's largest vaccination maker. I think healthcare, everything connected with healthcare will get an additional priority. What's going to suffer, hospitality, travel, they're going to take a longer time to come back till people's fears are over. So you've got to look at, what is going to happen to each industry and try and predict what the time frame is for that to come back to where it was earlier. Is it going to be a new normal in that industry? I think it's, and that's something that I think the younger people who are coming into the program are probably going to be far better than us in terms of, because they are the users. They're going to predict what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. And so when you ask what's going to happen, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows right now. But we know that in terms of trends, where things are going to go, we know things are going to change. They're going to have to change. Now, how quickly, how slowly, what will change, which industry? I mean, you're seeing some signs, but they're going to happen. But I think things like, what is quite obvious is analytical skills, people who do analytical, data scientists, how you look at predicting outcomes from business, from buying, purchasing, kind of how people buy things, what color of car they like. All that will come from analytics, AI, ML. I think Shailendra mentioned that artificial intelligence, machine learning is going to give you so much data today that in a way, what we did earlier was look at limited data and try and take some decisions. New people will have a lot more new tools on which they can look at a whole lot of data, not just data, look at video, look at a lot of things to come up with decisions. So industry is going to change. I think we've got to look at it. All industries are going to change. All of them are going to be data dependent. Analytics is going to be a big thing. And that's something we can predict over the next few years.
Thank you. So just like we're hearing all of you speak so much about the fact that the program and how management as a degree is going to evolve and will have so much of high dependency on technology. So a question that's come up, which I would request one of the professors to please take up, is that will the integrated MBA students be given the flavor of languages like R and Python?
Yes, Monisha, for specializations in fact, digital social media marketing, for business analytics, marketing analytics, R and Python becomes the backbone. And I'll tell you why. For a simple reason, R and Python both are open source, and therefore they are used by every industry. It's like Microsoft of the world. So now world is moving in this direction. So when we talk about financial technology, fintech part, when we talk about analytics part, R, Python are the two languages like English, which are to be taught at every school, at every level. That is one part. The other most important part is about visualization. So what Mr. Malhotra was referring to about data, it is equally important how these managers present the data to the business or to the technical part. So we have included certain courses on data visualization using certain very important tools such as Power BI and Tableau. And these are the technical, core technical part. Along with these, it is equally important for management students to also understand the other courses such as economics, such as marketing, basic courses, a little of public policy. That becomes one of the most critical aspects. So we have all stitched together these courses into one common fabric, and that's what we call integrated MBA. And that's why the program is of 4 years.
Okay. So while you're at it, Shivendra, I also have 3 questions that have come to me with importance of mathematics, students who do not have mathematics beyond class 10. How does it impact them? Is it difficult for them to cope up?
You have to be mindful of time as well, Monisha. We've taken 1 hour of people.
So we will just take closing remarks after this.
Oh. So mathematics, Monisha, like I said, we have students who are not from mathematics background from class 10th or class 12. They joined this program. So we introduced certain courses in the beginning itself, like 2 portions of statistics. We don't need mathematics as such at all. We read a little portion of statistics, and that's what we equip them in these years to come. So not to worry, we have students, we have data to do that. Students who join us from commerce, from humanities, and from sciences, mathematics, all of them are at a level playing field, and there's absolutely no problem, rest assured.
Great, thank you very much. So I'll request any of our speakers if they have any closing remarks. Quickly, just one closing remark from each of you, and then we could look at drawing this to an end. Mr. Pawar?
Please call out who you want to speak. We are all waiting.
Mr.
Okay,
Pawar.
my comment is just that I was very keen that we have a direct chat.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean the conversation is over. I'm sure many of you who are here today will get thoughts and new questions. Please feel free to send them to Monisha. It is her task to make sure that she directs that question to the appropriate person so you get an answer. That's one thing I'd like to say. Secondly, I just want to say that for us, the Integrated MBA is a program which comes with 11 years of teaching management programs to very experienced people as well. And the structure makes it possible for people to keep making choices as they go, to immerse themselves in industry over the internships, then to spend 6 months in pretty much the job of their choice. And we want to make sure that all of these youngsters who are determining what is their passion get a chance to express it, to make those choices, and to become thought leaders. That's what we want them to be. Because the university's pride and the faculty's pride comes only from what our alumni do. And so we look forward to these young people making big dreams and then maybe modifying them in college, but finally ending up realizing them in terms of where they start, and then of course going on to become successful people in whatever they do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Malhotra, closing remarks from you, please.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for everyone for attending. And, I really look forward to meeting all of you when you're at NIT University and interacting with you. And, I learn a lot from young people asking me questions in these interactions. So I really look forward to seeing all of you there and hopefully catching up with you in a group and one-on-one if possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Shivendra, Sushil, anything from your side?
Well, I just want to say that no matter what COVID has done, there is no disruption in our learnings. So
Yeah.
the continuity is maintained. We started the classes right from the next day, the lockdown was imposed. And we're looking forward to see all of you on campus so that we learn and teach each other better.
Thank you so much. It seems we're all very ready and excited to welcome all of you on board, our future Newtons. And NU definitely seems to be quite a safe place for us in all these tough times. So with this, I'd like to thank our speakers, Mr. Pawar, Mr. Malhotra, Professor Shivendra, Professor Sushil, and all our existing students who were here with us. And huge thanks to all of you there in the audience with your parents. I hope we were able to resolve your queries. In case I missed answering some of the questions, we'll be more than happy to take them offline through the regional admission offices. And last but not the least, on behalf of all of us here, we look forward to welcoming you to NU, and we are hoping for many such interactions in the future. Thank you so very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe.